Today is all about cozy fall soups, and so I've gathered 5 of my favorite soup recipes that I've shared in the past on my channel. All of these recipes are perfect for this season and definitely worth resharing. I'm so glad you're here. If we haven't met, my name is Ange and this is the Menu May Kitchen. Okay, so this first recipe I'm going to be sharing with you is my turkey chili with pumpkin. This recipe is always like the invitation into the fall season. I have to make this every year. It's really easy. You use canned pumpkin and it just has that savory but that little bit of sweetness. It's so delicious. I know you're gonna love it. For my turkey pumpkin chili, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to my Dutch oven. We're gonna add in a whole pound of ground turkey. I've also diced up a small yellow onion. So this turkey chili is so fast to make. I love it for lazy nights, but it's also very cozy, definitely fall. So we're just gonna get the ground turkey cooked up here and the onion softened, and then we'll start adding in the rest of our ingredients. The ground turkey is finished cooking. So now we're gonna add in a couple of garlic cloves minced. I've got my chili powder, 2 teaspoons, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. Lots of seasonings. Definitely want this to be nice and kind of warm and spicy. I mean, not like, you know, like my level of spicy, which is basically barely anything. Now we're gonna add in all of our goodies. I've got 2 cups of chicken broth. We're gonna add in 1 can of fire roasted tomatoes, and this does have green chilies in it. And I'm gonna use the juice and everything. We're also gonna add in 1 can of pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie filling, just plain old pumpkin. I also have 1 can of black beans. I've rinsed and drained these. We're gonna do 1 can of kidney beans, also rinsed and drained. And then for our last ingredient, I have 9 ounces of fire roasted frozen corn. I'm gonna bring this back up to kind of a low boil, and we're gonna simmer this for about 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, it really doesn't take long at all. Obviously, the longer you simmer it, kind of the richer the flavor becomes, but you could really serve this in as quick as like 15 minutes. And I'm gonna serve this with really simple chili toppings. We've got some cheese, some sour cream, maybe a little cilantro. Okay, so our turkey pumpkin chili is finished cooking, and you can see it got nice and thick. So obviously the longer that you let it simmer on the stove, the thicker it's gonna be. So if you decided that you needed dinner on the table in 15 minutes, it's gonna be a little bit more brothier, but either way, the flavor will be delicious. So I added some cheese, a little sour cream, some green onion. Obviously set out any of your favorite chili toppings. And I'm gonna be trying these with a fun chip too, but I wanted to try it just by itself with a little bit of my toppings. Okay. Such a great chili recipe. I love the addition of pumpkin. I feel like it just gives the chili a little bit of sweetness and creaminess. It's also a good way to add a little bit of veggie to your soup or chili or whatever. This is a great recipe. Okay, I want to try it with these chips. So I got these at Trader Joe's a couple days ago, and they are pumpkin tortilla chips, and I don't remember them having these last year, but they have a little bit of like cinnamon and nutmeg in them, so I thought that they'd be kind of fun with this chili. Okay, let's try it. That is really fun. If you have a Trader Joe's in your area, you've got to pick up these chips because they're really delicious plain, but with the kind of spicy chili, it is absolutely fantastic. So for our chicken potato chowder, we're gonna start out by cooking our bacon. So I have 6 slices of bacon that I've chopped up. So this recipe isn't quite as lazy as the other ones, but it's still very easy, and it's definitely cozy and perfect for fall. So I'm gonna get our bacon cooked up so it's nice and crispy, and then we'll transfer it to a plate. Okay, you can see I removed my bacon, and I also removed most of the bacon grease. I left about 2 tablespoons in the pot. And I have 2 chicken breasts that I've cut up into small cubes. You can also put the chicken breasts in whole and cook them that way, but I wanted this to definitely be a quick step. So the chicken's only going to probably take maybe 5 to 8 minutes to cook. And then we'll also transfer this to another plate. Okay, we got our chicken out of the pan. I am going to add just a little bit of butter, and then I'm going to add in about a cup of chopped up yellow onion. I'm also going to do 2 large carrots, and I have 2 celery stalks. We're going to cook these veggies down for about 5 minutes because they are going to continue to cook when we add the chicken broth and cook the potatoes. So I just want to saute them just a little bit. Now that our veggies have had a chance to soften, I'm going to add in 2 minced garlic cloves. All right, and then we're going to be adding some seasonings. I have a half a teaspoon each of oregano, thyme, rosemary, poultry seasoning. I have ground mustard and black pepper. I'll cook the garlic and just kind of toast the seasonings a little bit. And then I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup of flour. Okay, so we're just going to cook down the flour for like a minute just to make sure there isn't any raw flour taste. And this is obviously going to act as the thickener in our chowder. And then we're going to be adding 5 cups of chicken stock. And I'm just going to give this a stir and kind of scrape up the bits off the bottom of the pan. That is going to give the soup lots of flavor, so make sure to do that. Before this comes to a boil, I'm also going to add in my half and half, and I have 1 cup here. You can also do heavy cream if you really want this to be rich. And then we're going to add in, I've got some russet potatoes that I've cubed. This is about 4 medium-sized potatoes. Try to add those in without splattering myself. And then we'll add back in our chicken as well. And once this comes to a boil, we're going to cook it about 15 to 20 minutes, really just until the potatoes are tender, like fork tender. And then the soup will have thickened some. And then we'll top it with a few little toppings, and then we get to taste it. So I added a little bit of the bacon in with the chowder, stirred it in, and then I like to usually leave most of it to sprinkle on the top because I like the bacon to be crispy. And then a little bit of green onion. Add some cheese to this if you want, a little sour cream. I'll probably actually grate some cheese to have for later. Oh wow. That broth is so flavorful with the herbs and the Worcestershire. This is so good, and like I said, not the laziest fall recipe, but definitely easy and definitely worth making. So for our slow cooker cowboy soup, we're going to start by getting our ground beef and onions cooked. So I've got a pound of lean ground beef. We're also going to add in a chopped up yellow onion. And all we need to do is cook our ground beef, and then we'll move over to the slow cooker and basically just dump in the rest of the ingredients. It's so simple. I am going to be adding my minced garlic in here, but I'll only cook that for about 30 seconds. And then we'll move over and dump in all the rest of the stuff. So I have 2 garlic cloves minced. Actually, that was 3 garlic cloves. And we'll just cook this like 30 seconds, and we'll see it over at the slow cooker. Okay, so that was the hard part about the recipe. So I have 2 cups of chopped up potato, and I used Yukon Gold. We also have 1 cup of frozen corn. We have 1 cup of chopped up carrots, and then we're going in with the beans. So I've got 1 can of green beans, rinsed and drained kidney beans. This really should be called like everything but the kitchen sink soup. It's just loaded with lots of stuff. And then we have some chili pinto beans. This is in tomato sauce, and it has some different spices, and I'm going to use the sauce as well. We also have 1 can of fire roasted tomatoes, which is going to give a great flavor. And then for our spices, I've got 2 teaspoons of chili powder, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of oregano. I've got about a half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. And then the only thing left to add is 4 cups of beef stock. All right, we'll give everything a nice stir. And I'm going to cook this on high for probably 3 hours. You can also cook it on low for like 5 to 6 hours. Really, you want the potatoes to be tender, and obviously the longer it cooks, the more the flavors come together. So once this is all cooked, and we can come back here and give this a taste. I may have already tried a little bite because I wanted to make sure the potatoes were done. So this actually took about 5 hours on high. I was thinking it'd probably be more like 3 or 4. So I'll make sure that there's adjustments on the website, but obviously adjust accordingly and depending on your slow cooker. I also thought it would be really good to add some cheese and sour cream to this because it's got that Tex-Mex chili type flavor to it. It is so good. Like the little bite that I had, I was like, oh man. And I also I was gonna do some sourdough bread, but I made some little biscuits because I thought biscuits, cowboy, like it all goes. All right, let's give this a try together. It's like a cross between hamburger soup and chili because it definitely has the chili flavors, but the broth is a lot thinner. It's not a thick stew-like chili soup type thing. That was a big mouthful. You know what I'm saying. I think that it would be the perfect thing to make this winter to warm you up, and it's filling and just a hearty meal. That's what I love about it. I do want to try it with a biscuit though. I got to do a little dunking. That's my favorite part. I'm glad to have it with a biscuit. It is so good. I can't wait for you to try this. I think you're gonna love it and have fun with the ingredients. This is definitely a keeper. So to a pot here, I've got 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and I'm gonna add in 1 pound of lean ground beef. You can also do ground turkey, and I'm just gonna break this up into crumbles and cook it until it's no longer pink. So while that happens, I've diced up about a medium-sized onion, and then I've got a couple of garlic cloves. And then I like to use green, red, and yellow peppers for this soup, but you can do any colored bell pepper that you like. So at this point, we're just gonna get our peppers diced up. We'll cut them about the same size as the onions. Okay, now that our ground beef is cooked, I'm gonna add in the peppers. I've got the onions here, and then we'll add in the garlic. And if there's any excess grease in your pot, just make sure to remove that. We're just gonna saute the veggies for like 3 or 4 minutes, just until they start to soften, and then we'll add in 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. I've got 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I've got 2 tablespoons of ketchup that I'm gonna throw in, and 1 teaspoon of yellow mustard. I know these sound like weird ingredients, but I'm telling you, we're building the flavor and it's gonna be absolutely delicious. And then we're also gonna add in 1 can of tomato sauce, or like 2 cups, and then I've got 1 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I'm also gonna add in 4 cups of chicken stock, but you can also use beef stock if you really like that beefy flavor. I'm gonna bring this to a medium boil, and we're gonna simmer this for about 20 or 25 minutes. So this is how I like to serve our stuffed pepper soup. I just kind of set up a little station here. I've got some white rice. I'll also make some cauliflower rice to set that out. And then I've got some shredded cheddar cheese, a couple of bowls and spoons. And then we can just serve ourselves. You can add as little or as much rice as you want to your bowl, and then top it with the soup, and then of course some cheese. You could even put on a little dollop of sour cream if you kind of want it, that cool, creamy flavor. This is such a delicious, cozy meal. I know you guys are gonna love it. Talk about the coziest bowl of soup. All I need is like a big hunk of crusty bread with butter to dip in this broth. And I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't season this with salt and pepper. I think it's perfectly seasoned. Okay, so one thing, the recipe on my website, I actually add the rice to the soup, but you can do it separately. It really is just preference. If you do add the rice to the soup and mix it in, it is gonna absorb a lot of the liquid, so you might have to add more liquid the next day for leftovers and that kind of thing. I also left the rice on the side for tonight's dinner because we've got a low carber in the family, so I'm gonna make some cauliflower rice so they can dish up their own, and that way there's no rice in the soup mix. But either way, it's delicious. Well, I truly cannot think of a better recipe to have during the winter than this creamy homestyle chicken noodle soup, especially during cold and flu season. So we're going to start with getting our vegetables prepped. I've got some onion here, about a half of a medium onion. We like to add potato to our chicken noodle soup, so I'm going to add in 1 russet potato, a couple of carrots. We've got a couple of celery sticks, and then I'm just going to do 1 garlic clove. So I'm just going to get all of these veggies prepped and chopped, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I've got a large Dutch oven here. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. We'll melt that down, and then we'll add in all of our veggies. And I'm just going to cook the veggies just until they start to soften, but they'll continue to cook a little bit later when we bring everything to a simmer. And then I've got some seasonings here. I've got 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, a half a teaspoon of dried rosemary, a half a teaspoon of dried oregano. And I'm not going to salt and pepper this until the very end. And then we'll add in a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is going to act as our thickener. And I'm just going to cook out that raw flour taste for about a minute. Once I do that, then we'll add in 2 32-ounce containers of chicken stock, or you can use Better Than Bouillon. I just was out of it, so this is what I used. I had this on hand. And then we're going to add in a secret ingredient, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire. This just adds such great savory flavor. I use it in so many of my recipes now, and bring it to like a medium simmer. We really just want to cook the potatoes until they're tender. And then once that happens, we're going to add in our chicken. I've got about 3 cups of shredded cooked chicken. You can use a rotisserie chicken for this, or any kind of leftover shredded chicken will work. And then I've got 2 cups of wide egg noodles, or you can use your favorite pasta. And I'm going to cook the egg noodles for about 8 or 9 minutes. I don't want them to cook too soft, because this kind of continues to cook as we add the rest of the ingredients. So we've got a half a cup of frozen peas. I've got a 1/4 cup of fresh parsley, and then I'm going to add in 3/4 cup of half and half. But you can also do heavy cream. I just wanted the soup to be a little bit lighter. At this point, warming the half and half through and softening the peas. I'm just going to give this a little taste to make sure that it doesn't need any salt and pepper. I can't wait for you guys to try this creamy chicken noodle soup. Those herbs smell so good. Oh yeah, and that creamy broth. It's not like chowder thick. It's like brothy, but with a little bit of a thicker, creamier texture. It's just a nice, warm, creamy broth. So good. Well, make sure to join me in this next video. I'm sharing more comforting recipes perfect for this season. Thanks for spending time with me today. I look forward to seeing you next time.